Well, what's going on, everybody? And welcome to Irrational American. A whole new episode today. And we've got a lot to talk about. But what I've realized is that my take on a lot of the things we're going to talk about today is quite a bit different than what other people are saying. Of course, right? Because, well, it's a rational take on what's happening in this country. And I have a rational look at what's going on. Like take for example the Hunter Biden thing, right? It's not that surprising. It's not surprising that Hunter Biden would get what's a sweetheart deal, right? Where he would plead guilty to two federal tax misdemeanor charges, right? Where he wouldn't get any jail time and that he would go to a diversion for a felony gun charge. It's not that surprising when you actually use common sense and realize, well, he's the president's son. Of course that's going to happen. Of course. Of course. And if we want to use, well, I won't even go there. I won't even, you know where I was going right there. Ask Kodak Black's attorney, right? Why did he walk? Because you can make the argument that he's not walking. Right? That I've seen some stuff on social media, which is really, it's quite insane. All right. For anyone that doesn't know, Hunter Biden is getting a deal from the Department of Justice. He's apparently going to plead guilty to two misdemeanor charges. He's not going to see a moment of jail time. And his felony charge for, possession of a firearm by a person who is an unlawful user of or addicted to a controlled substance. Now, this is not an ATF, or this is not the charge that he would get for lying on the document saying that when he was supposed to check that box that said he's addicted to crack. You would think that would be the thing that they would go after, right? Because that's lying on a government form. It's super easy to prove. But no, they're not even charging him with that. And that's what everyone has to understand here. They're not charging him with that. They're charging him for, for example, say on the Hunter Biden laptop, that if you search around, you see him using drugs, and there's several images of him using drugs or high on drugs while possessing a gun. That is what they're charging. That's what he's entering his deferred program. Now, why is he entering a deferred program? Because he's the president's son. If it was a white or a black dude, let's be honest, if it was a black dude or a poor person or anybody else that didn't have the presidential cover, they would be going to jail. But because it's Hunter Biden, he gets to go to a pretrial diversion. Now, I have seen some things online published on Twitter by a U.S. or former U.S. attorney who doesn't seem to have the cognitive ability to interpret law, right? So they're saying that Hunter Biden shouldn't even qualify for a pretrial diversion program because based on internal memos and blah, blah, blah in these documents that they put out, they're stupid. And Jenna Ellis is one of them too. They're stupid because they can't interpret. He didn't commit a crime while in possession of a firearm by a person who's an unlawful user addicted to a controlled substance. He didn't commit a crime while possessing the gun illegally because he was on drugs. So they couldn't go after him for that, right? So that's why he qualifies for the diversion program. Now, they're not charging him for lying on the federal document, right? When everyone has to sign that form and attest that you're not, addicted to crack. He lied on that form. They're not charging him with that form. And what I bet is going to happen is when he's going to plead guilty, he's also going to get immunity from everything else. And that's not verified yet, but I have to assume that is what's going to come. Because otherwise, if I was his lawyer, I would say, don't take this plea deal. It doesn't make sense why you would take the plea deal because you're still leaving the charge on the table that you lied on a federal form. Do you know what I mean? So for everybody that's arguing that this is a sweetheart deal, it's not even a sweetheart deal. It is literally the deal of all deals because he's not going to face charges or he's facing misdemeanor charges But his lying on the federal form, which in itself is a crime, he's not being charged with, which doesn't make any darn sense. He's literally being charged. Look up what it is. He's literally being charged of being in possession of a firearm by a person who is an unlawful user of or addicted to a controlled substance. This is what everyone is missing, at least from what I could see online. You know what I mean? It's very perplexing to me that so many people are just like missing that. So, and you have to ask, if they're not charging him and there's no mention of the crime that's the easiest to get him on because he filled out the form, he lied, boom, you got him. It's literally that easy. Why aren't they charging him with that crime? The only thing I could surmise is that he's getting blanket immunity for every other charge. Do you know what I mean? That's what I believe. And I could be, talking out my butt here, but that's what I have to come under the conclusion. That's the only possible alternative to this plea. And then you have to ask yourself, okay, would any other person have gotten the same plea? Now, you could make an argument, a conducive argument, to say that, his situation's different from many others. You can look up different cases, like, for example, Amy Carlisle and Kevin Carlisle, who also had guns, but they were buying and selling guns. And so that's a different, you can look up the guilty plea by Herberto Flores back on April 5th, 2022, to illegal possession of and ammunition as a convicted felon because he was caught because he lied on his form. They charge him with lying on his form. They're not charging Hunter Biden with lying on his form, which doesn't make any sense. You could ask Haley Leanne Atkinson, 24, of Oklahoma City as well, who was found guilty or pled guilty on August 18th, 22, to making a false statement during a firearms transaction. She's facing sentences up to 10 years. But Hunter Biden's not getting, that's the same thing. She lied on a form. Hunter Biden lied on a form. She's getting 10 years. He's getting to walk, pretrial diversion. Joshua David Mosley, 31, of Hurrah, Oklahoma, pled guilty on September 6, 2022, to making a false statement during the purchase of a firearm. He attempted to purchase a firearm from a pawn shop. He checked no for having been convicted of any prior crimes. He faces up to 10 years in federal prison. He's probably sitting, both Haley and Joshua are probably in federal prison right now. But let's look up at another one. Briange Martai Otal Hamilton. I butchered his name. Anyway, he's a 22-year-old kid out of Oklahoma City. He pled guilty on October 10th, 2022, to making false statements during the attempted purchase of a firearm. According to public record, on May 26th, he was convicted of carrying a firearm under the influence of drugs, marijuana, in Oklahoma County District Court. Now, if they charged him with the federal charge that Hunter Biden is getting diversion for, well, that would be a story, right? Because then you can compare apples to oranges and say, why did Briange get jail time and Hunter Biden walked? But they didn't charge him with that. You know what they charged him with? The charge they could get him, because when he bought the gun, he lied on the form and said he wasn't on drugs. He is facing 10 counts in federal prison. He's facing 4 charges. 4 charges. And then you got another person. Guess who this person is? Nemery Zahid Ramos Castro, a 22-year-old, also from Oklahoma City. He pled guilty on January 5th of this year for making a false statement during the purchase of a firearm. He made false written statements in connection with the purchase of 2 assault-style firearms, one in Oklahoma City and one in Luther, Oklahoma. In one instance, he submitted to the ATF that he was not acquiring the assault rifle for another person, but then he gave it to somebody else. At sentencing, he faces up to 10 years in prison for both counts. Now, it's weird because when you hear that, then you're like, wait, why aren't they charging Hunter Biden with what they could charge everybody else with and what they have a pattern of charging with, right? They're not even charging him with that. He's not taking a guilty plea. In fact, he's never been charged for lying on a false statement, which is weird because when you look at this press release that was put out on Tuesday, January 2023 by the ATF, federal prosecutors aggressively pursuing those who lie in connection with firearm transactions. Weird. Federal law prohibits knowingly making any false statement in connection with purchasing or attempting to purchase a firearm. The Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms requires prospective firearms buyers to complete ATF Form 4473. This form requires buyers to answer several questions, including those about the buyer's competency, criminal history, drug use, immigration status, and history with domestic violence. Applicants who knowingly make false statements, like, admitting that you smoke crack when you actively smoke crack, can face up to 10 years if criminal prosecution is warranted, right? And it seems that we have a track record of the federal government seemingly going after, and I'm just going to say it, I'm just going to spitball this out there. It seems that the federal government does not hesitate at all to go after people that are minorities, charged with the very same crime that Hunter Biden is seemingly not even getting charged with. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And so you could argue, and this is what I'm arguing, that what they did, instead of charging to the highest count, right? Because that's typically how they do it, right? They want to get the person and they want to put them in jail for as long as they can. That's how the federal government thrives, right? Because how many black people are sitting in jail because they got caught with a pound of marijuana? We've been hearing about that for days. Kamala Harris, our vice president, literally locked up hundreds and hundreds of people for that very same crime. But for some reason, Hunter Biden, and guys, we're not going to call it white privilege, because I don't believe this is white privilege. I believe anybody else. I believe if I lied on ATF Form 4473, that I would be charged and convicted because I lied on the form. I believe that you, any viewer that's watching this right now, would be convicted. Why? Because you lied on the form. Hunter Biden alone is not even being charged with this crime. And this is what everyone else is overlooking. Everyone is like, oh, he's pleading guilty and getting a deferment on one gun charge, a gun charge that isn't this charge. You know why? Because they can't give him a deferment on this, because then it would set precedent for everybody else. So they're not doing it. They're not even charging him with it. So what? And the lawyer's not going to leave it open-ended, right? The lawyer's not going to leave it open-ended and say, well, unless he's a shitty lawyer. But I can honestly say the Bidens are probably paying for an expensive-ass lawyer. So the only conclusion I can come up with is that there is a plan already in place where they're going to give him immunity for this charge as soon as he pleads guilty. Now, will we know about that, or will it be sealed? My guess is it's going to be sealed. And then, do you think they're going to stop with just immunity for this crime? What if a crime comes up during all the GOP's investigations into Hunter Biden? Are they going to suddenly just have Hunter Biden be at risk to be locked up again? No. So they're probably going to give him blanket immunity for every possible crime that he ever committed in the past, hence blanket immunity. That is what I believe. And I think that most people are missing the boat on this. Everybody is talking about it. And some on the left are even pointing out, listen, the argument you're making is you're saying that he was charged with lying on the form. They didn't charge him with that. They charged him for literally possessing a gun while he was high on drugs, and he photographed himself and he put it on the hard drive that then he forgot to pick up from the shop, and then that hard drive went into custody. That is what he's being charged with. He's not being charged for lying on the form. And when you actually pay attention to all that, then you have to go to the conclusion, okay, is this just a sweetheart deal? No, this is a deal of all deals. This is the Biden Department of Justice working. This is literally doing the same thing that the left was accusing the right of doing under Donald Trump for years, giving his confidants, pardons, and giving this and this. This case is as cut and dry as to a dereliction of the Department of Justice's duties, right? And everyone's like, oh, it was a Trump appointee. It was a Trump appointee. Trump appointed this U.S. prosecutor, and that's why this is happening. And saying, oh, there was no there, as if he's not pleading guilty. Obviously, he's pleading guilty because he did something wrong. But everybody is missing the fact that he's not pleading guilty to the one charge that is so freaking open and honest, that has the highest consequence of all these charges. It's insane. When you really think about it and you sit back at it, then you have to realize, okay, well, this is a level of corruption that we have come to expect. Let's be honest. We come to expect it. We come to expect that the Bidens are just going to do something shady. I was not surprised by this. I know everybody was like, oh, this is a miscarriage of justice. No, it's not. We knew this was going to happen. I didn't expect Hunter Biden to go to jail for this. I thought maybe he'd go to jail for accepting bribes from foreign countries or, sleeping with underage prostitutes allegedly or anything like that. I thought maybe that's why he would go to jail someday or just wind up dead from a crack overdose. But I never expected that he was going to face charges for a tax case, right? Nobody did. But there was a couple of people that a couple of months ago, they're like, okay, we know what's going to happen. And they said this, they're going to charge him with some really low level crimes. They're going to give him blanket immunity. And then when that happens, all the big crimes just disappear. And that's precisely what I believe is going on. And I think most people are missing it. I think most people are missing the fact that he's not being charged with a fucking open and shut case, the ATF form 4473. He's not being charged with that one. And we already know he lied on it. They literally have the form. It's already been released. So it's crazy. It really is. And I think it's kind of funny when you pay attention to just how set people get, right? And like, you want to compare this to Trump, you want to compare that. It doesn't even matter. This is a Biden privilege. This is something that's been going on forever, and it's not going to change. It's not going to, if the same situation involved Jared Kushner or it involved Donald Trump Jr. or something, the same thing would happen. This isn't just because of Biden. This is because the powerful family that controls this country and is destroying this country. That is why this is happening. And it would happen under any bit of leadership is my belief. So I hate it when people are like, oh, this is just, Biden pardoning Biden. I guarantee if Trump was doing this, it would be the same thing. Trump did. He pardoned people that shouldn't be pardoned. It's crazy. The whole thing is just completely bonkers to me. And the fact that so many people on social media are acting like this is, like the liberals that are like, do they know? Has any reporter actually said what I just said to you guys? Has any reporter actually written that? Has the New York Times? I saw the New York Times. There was one article where I was just like, what? There was one article, and I don't know where it is now, but I commented on it because I'm like, you don't understand what you're talking about. They're like, a professor from the Law School of Ohio says that most people wouldn't be convicted of this charge. And I noticed it was weird because when they were retweeting it, they didn't include the article. And then you look at the article and he's like, well, it's kind of hard to judge everything when you don't have all the information. Why don't we have all the information? Because they're pleading him out. It's insane. Someone said, I disagree. If it was Trump's son, they would hang him. No, I see. And here's the thing is it's just corruption. This is just a further example of DC politicians being corrupt as shit. And there's no, it doesn't matter who's in office. We could probably look back. Actually, I don't know. Have we ever had another president whose son was a crackhead? I don't know. I don't know if we've ever had that before. So it may not be the best example. Have we ever had another example where the son committed crimes and then because there have been examples where someone commits a crime and then they're pardoned by the president. We know that. That's not what's happening. Well, essentially, that is what's happening here. Under the Department of Justice, they are in fact pardoning Hunter Biden from his gun charges and then likely giving him blanket immunity. I'm willing to put money that they're going to be putting blanket immunity in this deal. Patriot operator said Don Jr. No, because Don Jr. is, even though, people, especially liberals like you, want to say that Don Jr. is smoking crack, and they very well maybe. I don't know. Or, I don't think he's smoking crack. That's like low. He's probably using coke. But does that mean that he's a criminal? Is he going out and committing crimes? Has there been any evidence presented that would infer that he's committing crimes? Because I haven't seen it. The only crime that's being committed is by someone that's related to the Trumps, and that's Jared Kushner and his wife taking billions of dollars from people who killed 3,000 Americans. That's the truth. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, holy shit, that family's corrupt as hell. More than I even thought before. Because here's the truth. Saudi Arabians, there's many people, including New York City firefighters, who firmly believe that Saudi Arabia is responsible for the 9/11 terror attacks in the United States, right? That killed over 3,000 Americans. And yet Donald Trump is profiting off of Saudi Arabia as they're playing the Live Tour, the golf tour, at all his places. And then you got the Kushners making billions of dollars off Saudi Arabia and all that stuff too. The whole thing just doesn't make any sense. I'll tell you, you want to know the truth? Today was a primary in New Jersey, or wherever I fucking live now. Who knows? Where do I live? Virginia. So today was the primary in Virginia, right? So I had a chance. I could have voted for like one of 12 people who were running for Virginia Senate. All GOPers, I don't know that. I knew one of them personally, but I don't know anyone else. Don't know their positions. They didn't really hold any debates. There's just signs all over the streets. I drove by the polling place today and I said, fuck this. And I didn't vote. You know why? Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Why vote? Because look at politicians. They're not doing anything for us. The politicians in DC, they're not doing anything for us. The politicians in local office, they're not doing anything for us. The state level, not doing shit for us either. Nobody's doing anything for us. And I'm someone, you guys know this. You've been watching me for a long time. I'm someone that's like, whatever, no matter how pissed off you get, you go and vote. That's your civic duty. My civic duty today was driving by it and being like, nah, I'm not doing it. And it doesn't mean I'm not going to vote in the generals. It just means that today I was so disgusted by where we are as a country that I was like, you know what? I don't even care anymore. I just don't. Because they're going to put someone in for Virginia's senator, it's a state level position, and it doesn't matter. That person's going to be beholden to the dollars that they make, and they're not going to actually push any meaningful legislation through. The only way that changes is when we put ourselves in office. People in office that actually give two shits about the direction that we're going. If we keep following the same path, what are we going to have? Articles of impeachment introduced on the House floor. Everyone's going to posture. Oh, sign here so we can send you, campaign contribution emails nonstop. When you know that Kevin McCarthy doesn't have a spine. That just happened today. Lauren Boebert introduced articles of impeachment on Joe Biden. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to get a vote. It's not going to do anything. Why? Because the decision lies with Kevin McCarthy. He's not going to push it through. I can almost guarantee it. We're not going to get a vote on it that matters. And even if we get a vote, there's going to be those holdout Republicans that are the swamp. And here's the thing. I said something. Jim Jordan said something today about the swamp. You see the swamp in action with Hunter Biden, right? And I replied, or he said the swamp is, I forgot what he said. Let me see what he said. What did he say? Because this was funny. Because I was right. He said the swamp always protects its own. And I said, yes, you do. Because the truth is, Jim Jordan, everybody else, everybody that doesn't take a firm stance every single day, screaming at the top of their lungs, airing every single politician's dirt in Washington, every single person on Capitol Hill that doesn't scream out at the top of their lungs to the members of the media saying this is wrong. Jim Jordan does it sometimes, okay? But the fact of the matter is I'm lumping everybody together at this point. Someone said a week ago you're advocating for Biden's impeachment. I still want him to be impeached. Do you know what? I still want him to be impeached. But the problem is nothing's going to happen. He's probably not going to get impeached, even by the House. I think politically it's fucking smart. Impeach him by the House. You take ammo away from Donald Trump in the least. Do you know what I mean? It's just crazy. Someone said, Steve, you really can't fit about what you think is going on in your state if you don't vote. Oh, I can. Because here's the thing is I've never missed a primary willingly. Some days I forget, but I've never missed a primary vote. I've never done anything. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to announce something later on in life where, you know what? If you can't beat them, join them, right? Because I'm going to join them to beat them. You know, starting on the state level. We need people that are out there yelling, frustrated. And that's the truth. Someone said, you can't vote. You're never represented. You're stolen from taxes. There's no moral turpitude. But here's the thing. This is a GOP primary, right? I already know who's going to win based on the perception of my area. He's who I was going to vote for anyway. It was downpouring. I'm not going to go. And if he loses by one vote, then I'll be like, ah, shit, I messed up there. But in all reality, I know who I would have voted for. The only person that's never run for office. Every single other person that was running for Virginia Senate has ran for office. They hold either office now, they're covered in scandals, or they're career politicians who just lie all the time. You know? It's very frustrating to me. It's very frustrating. And the more I think about it, the more I get frustrated by it even more. You know? And while my wife said I can't run for federal office, she never said I can't run statewide or local. You know what I mean? And maybe that's what we need in the state. Someone that just gets up there and like scares people away. I don't know. But I'm really quite frustrated. I was talking to someone today and they were talking about politics and they were talking about where we are in the country and who was really running the world and all. And it got out there, you know. But I was thinking about it and I'm like, and I said the same thing I always say is I'm like, we need people in DC. We need people in local office. We need people in state level office that truly just care about America, that care about the success of this country. It doesn't matter what party line you're on. I'll be honest at that point, or at that point. It doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or Republican. If you know that the people that are in office are not representing you the way you elected them to, then we need to find better candidates. And we have to stop getting with the craziness, the crazy politicians who don't want to represent us and our values. And that's what we have in Washington. We got a bunch of sheep. That's all they are, you know, and it sucks because I hold some of these people in high regard, but at some point you got to lump them together and be like, why aren't you using the same outrage that we all feel? Right? Like, for example, today they issued this press conference by the Pentagon. Pentagon spokesperson said today, accounting error provides an extra $6.2 billion for Ukraine, according to the Pentagon. That was during a Pentagon briefing today. Now, what's interesting is a lot of these senators and congressmen, the Republicans, were all outraged by this, right? And they're tweeting out, oh, how do you find this? How do you find that? You know what the stupidest thing is? When you look into it, many of them actually voted for the $40 billion Ukraine funding bill in 2022, where this came from. And the craziest thing is that now it gets to go back and nobody can stop it. Congress has no say in it. They didn't find an extra $6.2 billion. It wasn't an accounting error. Basically, they said, hey, the weaponry that we gave, the used guns that we gave to Ukraine, we on accident charged the American taxpayer the full amount, like what it would cost to actually buy that gun new, even though it was used. We didn't depreciate the weapons that we sent over there. So instead of saying, hey, guess what? That's good for Americans. Now you have $6.2 billion to solve like homeless crisis or, you know, fund the VA or just feed some fucking kids that are starving here in America or combat the rising gun crime that's in the city. No, what they're doing is they're now applying that $6.2 billion back to Ukraine. They're putting it in the coffers, which doesn't require United States congressmen or senators to vote on it, and they're sending that money back over. It's insane. It's insane. And everybody's just like, oh my God. This is because these people voted this pass in the first place. This is more of what I was talking about, where the people that are in office truly don't know what they're doing. They don't care. The VA could use that money. Anybody could use that money. We could use that money just as general Americans. We could use that money. You know, look at how many homeless people are sleeping out every day. You know, secure our border. Did you guys see that? I tweeted it out. If you don't follow me on Twitter, you probably should. It's up there somewhere. But I tweeted it out the other day about Belarus, or no, it was Poland. Poland put up a high-tech, sensor-driven, heat-seeking border wall for 400 kilometers in a year with Belarus. Over a year, they built this whole big wall. We can't build a wall in our country. Was any of our U.S. taxpayer funds sent to Poland and then they allocated that money towards their border wall? We'll never know because the politicians don't give two shits about us. It's crazy. It's so crazy that we are doing all this stuff. We're sending money to all these other countries. Everybody wants to be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. They're all idiots. Every single one is an idiot. All these politicians are idiots. All the politicians in DC are idiots. Localized politicians are idiots. And you know what? Here's the sad part, because I would honestly say we don't have people on the federal level that give two shits about any. You can have some that posture, right? That give the representation or the interpretation that they actually do care about you. But then when it comes time for them to vote, they vote to elect Kevin McCarthy Speaker of the House. So we are assured for the next 2 years that nothing else is going to be accomplished in Washington. We have those politicians, right? Like Marjorie Taylor Greene shows a lot of promise, and then she backtracks on every fucking possible thing she could stand for, right? Like J6 tapes. We need to fight. We're going to go toward the January 6th prisons. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. J6 tapes must be released. All of a sudden, she gets on Kevin McCarthy's good side. J6 tapes can't be released. It's a national security issue. Kevin McCarthy must be Speaker of the House. Oh, she has committees again. Come on, dude. These politicians are all the same. You know, Thomas Massey. Oh, he fights against the CARES Act. Everyone supports him for doing that. And then he goes and votes against censuring Adam Schiff because he finds that it's unconstitutional to fine him $16 million. Adam Schiff for years lied to Americans about Donald Trump. You don't need to like Donald Trump to know that Adam Schiff lied to Americans. If you can't hold them financially responsible, how do you hold them responsible? Because here's the thing, Adam Schiff may be from California, but his lies affected me here in Virginia. They affected you in Kentucky. They affected you in Texas, and you in New York, and you in Florida. They had affected us all. And there's no repercussions for politicians who lie, because as long as it's done in the course of their job, they're free to lie. It's insane. That's what that $16 million fine was supposed to be for. And yeah, we may have a censure vote next week. It holds no salt, or on Wednesday, maybe tomorrow. It holds no salt. Nothing's actually going to happen. This guy lied to Americans. He pushed a false narrative for months and months and months, years and years and years, a false narrative about Donald Trump. Whether you hate Donald Trump or not, you have to admit that Adam Schiff lied to all of us. And nothing happens to him. It's insane to me. It's insane. And then you have these staunch conservatives that are like, oh, it's wrong for the government to fine Adam Schiff $16 million. It's more than he makes in 92 years. Get the fuck out of here. Adam Schiff has multiple houses. He's making millions of dollars off the stock market every single year, in addition to all the lobbying funds and his big war chest of campaign funds because he may be running for Senate. It's so stupid. It's so stupid, you know? But there's nothing we can do, right? The only thing we can do, and what I've said forever, is just vote. Vote for the people. Vote for the candidates that are going to affect change. But what do you do if there's no candidate that's actually, you know, if you have a returning candidate, someone that's been in office for 4 years, let's say, and they come up for re-election right now, there's no viable alternative because they have too much money backing them. And even though you know they're wrong, if you don't vote for them, your vote goes to someone else who's going to be far worse. What is the difference between someone who doesn't vote with the benefit of all Americans? Because here's the thing, we shouldn't be electing people that are only going to vote on our narrative and on our terms. We should vote for people that are going to help America as a whole, right? There has to be concessions in government. That's why it's set up this way. There has to be concessions on both sides. But at what point do you sit back and say, okay, well, the direction we're going is wrong, so we need to fix the direction we're going? We can have concessions on both sides, but you guys got to get your heads out of your butts and figure out which direction we really are going. But they don't care. They don't care. Someone said that's because it's not illegal to lie on it's qualified immunity. All politicians have qualified immunity as long as the lies that they do are in furtherance of their job, which is insane. That's why you see it in all these committee meetings. They just lie with impunity and there's nothing that can be done. That's why every single time they're having a meeting about the Border Patrol, or they're having a meeting about rising crime in cities, and they can just lie and do fake facts that we all know are, not true. And there's nothing that can be done. And conservatives do it too. It's not just Democrats that do it. Conservatives do the same thing. We can't pretend that it's just a Democrat thing, because that's why we're in the position we are now, because they've done such a good job at being like, conservatives are bad, no, Democrats are bad, no, conservatives are bad. And then we're all just like dogs, right? You know, when you play fetch with a dog for hours and hours and hours, and the dog's like tired, but it can't stop. It's like addicted, like Hunter Biden is to crack. The dog is to whatever you're playing fetch with, right? That's what these politicians are. They get into DC and the only thing they think about is, oh, how are we going to make money? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? And they forget, and I choose to believe that they forget why they were actually elected to office. Because the other alternative is they straight lying to people from the get-go. They're lying about all the things they're going to do. They're lying about unity. They're lying about the bills that they're going to push forward. They're lying about the positions they stand for. And that's what I believe most politicians are doing, is I believe that they are just getting distracted. They don't care about us. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. If they did, they would actually be bettering this country. You would see, joint press conferences with fucking loony left and radical right getting together, holding press conferences, talking about the new initiatives that they're doing to actually pass to try to help stuff. God Rides a Harley said starting a third party is looking better and better. Yeah. I mean, it is, but then us as Americans, the non-politicians, we can't get together enough and raise money. No, why? Because we get played by everybody else. If you're on the left, you get played by Hunter Biden. Donald Trump is bad. If you're on the right, you get played by Donald Trump. The left is bad. Woke this, trans this. They're all doing the same thing. And as I was saying today, or as I was talking to someone today, and they're like, why do you think that is? Like, seriously, think about it on a granular level. Why do you think it is that everybody right now is trying so hard to divide each other? Because what it does is it keeps the vote uniform. They know conservatives aren't pushing a vote or a position of unity. Democrats certainly are not. They're calling anyone that votes conservative an extremist. The reason why is because the people that are in charge, like the real people that are in charge, they don't care which party wins, because they know they have enough influence, they have enough push, they have enough control over it to push whatever narrative they want. And that's the truth. That's the truth with an F. It's frustrating, man. Someone said, goes back to your point, Steve, who do we all vote for? Here's what, in all reality, the only way to fix it is to get rid of everybody that's in office. Even if you think they're a good person, to primary every single person, to put new candidates forward, to grassroots fund, to boost that person up. People that have just worked, people that have great credit scores, that have worked, have suffered the ups and downs of being an American, because many of these politicians don't. I use the example so many times, and if I interview politicians, I always try to ask them, when's the last time you changed a tire? When's the last time you had to go shopping? When's the last time you mowed your lawn or fixed your kid's bike? When's the last time you did something? When's the last time you suffered to pay a bill or had to choose what you're going to pay, when you're going to pay it? When's the last time you had to worry about buying gifts for your kids or buying food? When's the last time you had to be in America, an American? If we put people in office that have answers to those questions, it's a game changer. It's a game changer, because those are the people that want to go in there, want to change it, and then they want to get back to their life. They don't want this career politician lifestyle. And everybody's been, term positions, term limits, they will never do it until we all got together and said, hey, okay, listen, Ben Klein is running in my district. Ben Klein been in office for 2 terms. He's done nothing. We're putting forth a candidate, and you don't limit your positioning or whatever it's called, your platform. You don't label that just as conservative. You label that as an American platform, and you sit and you talk to Democrat voters, and you talk and you listen and you hear their positions, and you hear from the right, you hear from the left, and you don't lie. You sit there with your position and say, okay, I don't agree with you in this premise, but if you elect me into office, I will do this, which doesn't solve your problem there, but it makes your life better in this position, and follow through. That's the thing. But we don't have follow through. We don't have follow through in office. We don't have follow through in life. In all reality, we're not very good at it. And we're setting ourselves up even more for the future with this next generation of kids that are coming up. The lazy ones that don't want to work, and not all of them. But there's a huge generation of people that are coming up right now that don't want to work, that don't care about what happens in politics, that are completely and utterly disconnected. And we're not talking about the paid Biden shills that you see on social media. No, we're not talking about any of those people. We're talking about the real people that are out there and they're just sitting in their mom's basements playing video games. Those are the people. And I don't know, man. I just find it frustrating. And I'll be honest, I've never felt like I did today. I even called my wife to remind her that it was primary day. And granted, she doesn't have someone to vote for. There's no one in the Democrat primary in our district. It's just GOP. And she's like, I don't even know who to vote for. Because here's the thing. They don't even try to tell you that. Look at the politicians. Look at who's running for president right now. I challenge all of you, whether you're on the right or left, go look at the politicians that are running for office. Chris Christie's website's blank. DeSantis, website blank. Vivek Ramaswamy, his website has some positions. Donald Trump has some positions. Mike Pence, blank. I don't know about Christie, whatever her name is. I can only assume it's blank. But many politicians, they don't even need to tell you what they're going to do in office. They just know you're going to vote for them over somebody else. And that's where we are as Americans now, where we just vote for people against other people. You know, that's what we do. We got to vote for Donald Trump because we don't want Biden to win. Why don't we actually try to put a candidate in that would be good for America? And not just what they could do, be good for Americans as a whole, represent America, because that's what the president's supposed to do. That's what the politicians are supposed to do. They're not just supposed, because what is constituency? It's not just the people that voted for you. It's everybody. It's everybody that lives within your region. That's who you're responsible for. You know what pisses me off? When we have big fatal accidents right now, and Ben Klein, who lives in this district, when he's not in D.C., and I don't even think he probably lives in D.C. He probably lives here because we're only 2 hours away. Is he showing up at big accidents? Is he showing up at all these? No, you know what he's doing? He's touring factories and shaking donors' hands and posting it on his social media pages. He's not going out and interacting with the community, going and walking around a grocery store with a camera following him and just talking to people, finding out what it's like. He's not paying attention to the $5 gallons of milk or the $6 gallons of egg or the rising cost of fuel or how hard it is for people to work or how hard it is for people to find people who want to work. They don't care about any of that stuff. Do you know what I mean? They don't. You know, it's crazy. Just like Bobby said, hey, Steve, Biden won his presidential race from his basement. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Because people don't care anymore. Democrats, and listen, Democrats did a masterful job at letting Donald Trump, you know, for one, they attacked him forever, but they had the help of the Republicans who attacked Donald Trump as well. And then Donald Trump, we all have to admit, Donald Trump also attacked himself every time he opened his mouth. Like when he went on Brett Baer last night, made an ass of himself. 100% made an ass of himself. And it sucks because I'm someone that's like, fuck, I don't want to vote for him. But at the same time, who else am I going to vote for? I have no other option. I can't vote for anybody else because their positioning, I disagree with. I disagree with Donald Trump's personality and his mindset. But what do? Donald Trump says, oh, you know, I pardon this woman. But then guess what? Under the laws that he's, it just doesn't matter, dude. He's talking shit about Nikki Haley, I believe, right? Because she's running for office and she's polling so low. He appointed her an ambassador. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. You certainly don't want to, you don't care about America if you're just constantly dragging everybody down. Anybody that works for Donald Trump, he rips a new asshole when they realize that he is the way he appears, an ass. But I'll be honest, I think Donald Trump is the only person that I've seen in my lifetime that truly gives a fuck about Americans. I just don't know if that's going to carry over, that he's actually going to start doing something and caring more, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Because for me, I'm kind of like, we don't have another option. Just as a real voter, a rational American voter, if you don't like the direction this country is going in right now, who else do you vote for? You know what I mean? If you're not, pro this Ukraine war, Russia bullshit, if you're not pro that, who do you vote for? You vote for the person that is best going to lead the country in the direction that you hope. But in 39 years now, I have a very successful rate of voting for people that tend to not do shit. And then the next person that all the liberals vote for goes and reverses everything the last president done, and we don't get any further to a big country. Yeah, to a prosperous country. Someone said he didn't win, he was selected. I don't know who you're talking about. You talking about Donald Trump or Joe Biden? Someone said Brett was the arson, always has been to the entire time. It doesn't matter how bad the commentators being, you have to listen to the answers. Anyone that thinks that Donald Trump that he excelled in that comment yesterday, come on. Or that interview with Brett Baer yesterday, it was horrible. And I can only imagine how bad today's is going to be. Because the goal of running for president is to try to get people to vote for you. It's not just to secure your base and then turn them against anybody else, which is precisely what's happening in this country. The conservative party is fractured down the middle because you got people that care about America, right? That are all believing that Donald Trump would be the best person to lead us in a direction of somewhat normalcy. It's not going to be a normal presidency if Donald Trump wins, but, relative normalcy, let's say that, in terms of the equilibrium of our country. And then you got people like DeSantis, warmongers, and the traditional rhinos. And then you got Joe Biden, who's just as much of a warmonger as any of these people that are pro, Ukraine must win, blah, blah, blah. Why is that our fault? We got Americans that are dying on the streets here. You know how many gun violence crimes there were this week alone? You know how many of those were committed by people that were illegally carrying guns? Do you know why they were on the streets after having long rap sheets and being released? Why aren't we dealing with that? I would much rather the trillions of dollars that we sent to Ukraine, I'd much rather that money be spent with all these liberal DAs to force them to do their job and lock people up. I don't know, man. I don't know. Someone said, I'm not making any deals for peace. If we pick someone else, I want our country back, and he is the only one that's been strong enough to take it. And I would agree at that point, because who else? No one else has even put forth how they're going to try to fix this country. What they're doing now is attacking Donald Trump. DeSantis did the same thing today. Well, Donald Trump didn't get the wall built. Donald Trump didn't do this. Donald Trump did. Motherfucker. You see what that guy had to go through for the past 4 years? How was he going to do it? And for anyone that wants to be like, Donald Trump didn't get the wall built in 4 years, look at what's happening at our southern border. Plus, we had a national pandemic that shut the country down for a year. Look at what's happening on our southern border now. Look at the big stacks of all the construction material that we already paid for that are rusting out in the desert. It's just crazy, dude. It's crazy. Someone said Trump, if that's a choice. Yeah, I mean, at this point, just like I said, and I know it may come off different. At this point, if the election was today, even with everything I already said, I would be voting for Donald Trump as well. Because I believe he's the only person that has a vision that's even close to what I have in terms of where I want this country to be. And that's the truth. And the more he talks, the more I don't like him. But at the same time, well, the alternative is far worse than Donald Trump. And that's the truth. And it's weird because just a few minutes ago, I'm like, you don't vote for someone based on who the alternative is. You vote for what's best for this country. Not for whether you hate someone, not because of whether there's families corrupt, not because of whether you feel your vote matters. No, you vote for what's best for the country. You educate yourself on the person you're voting for, and then you go and do it. And then the goal would be to hold them accountable. And I don't know, man. Charles Howard said Trump will turn 3-letter agencies inside out and stop the war in Ukraine. I believe he would stop the war in Ukraine by shutting off the faucet. We wouldn't be doing any of these presidential drawdowns, sending more military equipment so our government contractors here can make money. Because you understand, even though they say it's not costing taxpayer dollars, they're taking the military equipment from our military, sending it over, and then buying the new replacement weapons under existing contracts from these contractors that have blanket contracts. So it is literally costing us money, So I personally, Charles, I don't think Trump will turn 3-letter agencies inside out. I don't think it's going to happen. You know why? Because he didn't do it before. He knew the FBI was corrupt before. He talked about it all the time. He didn't do shit. He put Christopher Wray in there. He didn't do shit. So I personally don't believe that Donald Trump is going to go after the ATF and the DOJ and the FBI. No, I don't think he's going to do any of that, to be honest. You know? And I don't, and that's the truth. I don't think he's going to do anything because he could have did it already. He could have did it when he was in office before, but he didn't. You know, and that's the truth. He can gut him, and people would probably, if he won, people would probably quit. People would probably leave and be like, "Oh my God, I can't work for this guy." But in all reality, he put everybody in. Charles Howard said, "That's true, but look at what they've done to him." Yeah, but he put them in. Donald Trump put them in. So how can anybody say, oh, he would get rid of him? He's the one that put him in. Like, it's crazy that people even believe that. You know, look at most of the people that Donald Trump is riffing with in public right now. They're people he put in. And then what's he do? He talks about how bad they are. Well, you're the one that did it. You're the one that put that person in the position of power that they used then against you. You know? But then again, what is our alternative? Do you know what I mean? What is our alternative? Eden's Vision said the total is around 80 billion. I don't know. I don't know what the total is right now. I mean, it's got to be somewhere close to that with all the presidential drawdown activity and all this stuff, because it's like every couple of days we're giving $1 billion here, $1 billion there. We announced a new $500 million security package, blah, blah, blah. We're just in all reality, they're going to run out of money. And it's so weird because you listen to Fox News and they're shilling hard for Ukraine, right? They're like, Ukraine military is telling us that they are making great advancements on the Russian on the Russian offense or on the Ukrainian offense to take back, their treasured land. And then it's like, and Russia tells us that they've lost 20 tanks and Ukraine has lost 70 tanks, but we can't verify any of that. So take it with a grain of salt. Again, just so my position's clear, the reason I don't care about the war in Ukraine, because one, we have people here that need our financial assistance more than other countries. And two, in 2019, we weren't even allowed to send money to the Azov battalion, which is in Ukraine, because of the same reason Russia said they invaded Ukraine. And everybody could fact check that. It's 100% true, which is crazy. It's crazy. Sam Falcon said, I think the first time he trusted people who were against him, this time he'll do more vetting. I don't believe so. I don't believe so. I think Donald Trump it's just like the Dr. Oz endorsement. If you really want to question his thinking, the Dr. Oz endorsement makes no fucking sense. Everybody saw through that Dr. Oz was not a conservative, that he was, in fact, a Republican, because I think Republicans have no backbone. That's what Dr. Oz was. He was not a conservative. But he still got Donald Trump's endorsement. It was at that moment for me that I started questioning Donald Trump's judgment and who he was voting for. At that moment. Not everything else. That's it. Because that's the truth. Because it's just, it doesn't make any sense. You got someone that actually loves America, like Kathy Barnett, who wants to help America, and instead we lose to a fucking mutant because of the endorsement of Dr. Oz. It just doesn't make any sense. Here's my belief. It doesn't matter who's the president. Unless we have a fundamental shift in the everyday Americans caring about what happens in America, none of it matters. None of it matters. And that's the truth. It doesn't matter whether we have Joe Biden for another term. It doesn't matter if RFK Jr. gets in there. It doesn't matter if Donald Trump is reelected, and it doesn't matter if DeSantis wins. It doesn't matter, because if Americans don't care about what's actually happening, we can all say we can. I'm just some guy with a couple hundred people watching. I can say what I want, but it doesn't matter. If I'm not going out and holding them to account, if I'm not getting meetings with my congressman and saying, what are you doing, bro? Like, what are you doing to help us, to help the community? And the community is not just conservatives. The community is liberals too. It's the Democrats. It's the people that have the stupid fucking flag on their house. And I'm not talking about the American flag. You know which one I'm talking about. Those are still Americans. And that's the truth. You know, even though they have a weird view and a weird outlook on life, it doesn't matter. They're still Americans. And until we put politicians in office that remember that, it's all for nothing. And we will all continue to do the same thing we do and vote for those people, even though we all know it's all for nothing. And it's sad. And it's frustrating. And it pisses me off. But what can you do, right? I don't know. It's really weird. Bobby said the only way to fix this country is fire everyone in the state, local, and government and start over. I agree. I think that's the only way. I think the only way, and I keep hearing it on Fox News. They talk about a third-party candidate. There's some term for it, some website, and I keep forgetting what it is, and I keep saying I have to look at it, and I have to figure out what it is. But apparently it's a group that's putting money behind candidates that fit the bill of what I just said, and it's gaining steam. That's what we need. And I forgot what it is, but Fox News keeps talking about what a threat it could be, right? But I keep forgetting what it is because I wanted to go to their website, but I keep forgetting. It's a third party something, and that they're thinking that a third party candidate may emerge this year. But will they have enough of regular Americans backing? Because that's what has to happen. Regular Americans need to pony up. You need to go out and campaign. You need to put money to them. That's it. But I don't know what it is. Nanner, if you figure out what that is, or April, if you could figure out that third party thing, let me know. Email it to me. Because I don't remember what it is, but it's something I meant to look up. Michelle said, I think Trump being elected would send a powerful message, especially to bullies who think they could further slander and violate the rights of future outsiders. No, I don't think it's going to do anything else. I don't think it's going to do that at all. It sends a message that you can get reelected after the status quo or whatever this. Who knows what it means? I have no idea what it means because I firmly believe Republicans are working side by side with Democrats to take down Donald Trump. I just don't think I think Donald Trump has shifted from being that guy who didn't give a fuck and really wants to care about America to being a politician. I'm hoping I'm wrong, and I'll still vote and bet on the fact that I'm wrong on that. But I have that feeling inside my stomach that he's a politician now, because I firmly believe, like, his whole threat of going scorched earth with this indictment, that's what he would have been doing. He would have been putting all the dirt out about politicians. He's a fucking president. Are you telling me he doesn't have dirt on all these guys? How do you sit in Congress or the House or the presidency and not know all the freaking dirt about every single one of these politicians? I've seen Scandal. I've seen all these politician shows and all that stuff. The one person that had the balls to speak out about what was going on in DC. What happened? So stupid. You know who it is. You know what happened. Madison Cawthorn kicked out. Starts talking about all the weird, creepy shit that happens in Capitol Hill at nighttime. And the GOP get rid of him real quick. Someone said it's the Uniparty. I don't know what that is. I don't know, man. The whole thing is just crazy. But before I get into the last story, and this is another one that just doesn't fucking make any sense. But before I get into the last story, I want to remind everybody right now that if you're watching and you go to coffeecanman.com and you go to the classic can and choose 12-ounce bag of either the Wake Up America or the French vanilla, either whole bean or ground, it's on sale, 20% off. We never do sales that big. It's automatically in your cart. Whole bean or ground, Wake Up America or the French vanilla, because I have too much. I ordered too much, and you know us, we like fresh coffee. So order the 12-ounce bags, whole bean or ground, French vanilla or Wake Up America, and you'll get 20% off those in your cart. And anybody else that wants coffee or anything else, ship it. You may see a difference in the background. So what I did is my warehouse is like a million fucking degrees right now because I subleased out the office side that has air, and then there's a warehouse behind. That's where I was before. But the other warehouse that I have, which is the one that I have all the coffee at, it's too damn hot in there and there's no AC. And I'm certainly not going to spend 10 grand putting an AC in there. So we sat down, we were talking about it. I needed a quiet place to do homework during the day and do the show so I can continue to do the show and not do it from my living room. So we kicked out my son from this room. They're now sharing the master bedroom as their bedroom. And then my wife and I moved into another room, which is separated by closets, which is great. But our room is smaller. Now I have my own office. And so I'm moving. I'm still packaging the coffee there, but then I'm moving it here because it's cool. You know what I mean? Because I'm not going to leave the coffee in a 150-degree website. So that's it. Steve, is everything on track to restart the prepaid yearly shipping monthly? Yeah, it's going to be. So either this weekend or very early next week, I'm going through the spreadsheet of everybody that was on the yearly or the 6-month plan, and you're going to get a gift card to restart it. So you just use the gift card, you restart it, you start from 12. So if you've already got 2 or 3 months of coffee, don't worry, that was free. You start from 12 again, because we have a new system that tells me when you're getting your coffee. And then it's better for you because you could choose all the different coffee roasts we have now, because we have like 40 or 50. So yeah, Carmine, you'll get that email. Probably I'm going to try to start knocking them out on Sunday and Monday, because there's not that many, but there's like 20 or 30. So that way you guys will use the gift card. It automatically applies. You get 12 months starting from the day you do it, and it doesn't charge you anything at all. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. And I think it was Pamela that I got your email. Same thing. That's what I meant to send you in an email. I'm sure you're watching because you always watch. So hopefully that answers it. I know you don't really care about the patriotic as F ammo cans, but we're still going to push those, and you won't be disappointed by the shirts. Okay. You won't be disappointed by the shirts. I think it was Pamela. All right. So now, with that said, hopefully all of you guys are going and buying the Wake Up America and pardon my French roast. I'm going to check real quick. And hopefully, okay, a couple of you guys did. Good. So hopefully a couple more of you guys do, because like I said, it's on sale today. Great deals. You're going to want to do that. Just, again, the only ones that are on sale, and it's just until midnight tonight, are the Wake Up America and the French Vanilla. Those, the 12-ounce bags, not the cans. So make sure you order the 12-ounce bags. It's 20% off. That's a huge, we never do 20% off. Here, you want the Wake Up America, which is what I'm drinking now. And this is fire, as the kids say. All right, so here's the next story. Why are people pressing 1 in the chat? Stephen Hofstetter, what about the Patriot as F ammo can bundles? I've tried to send everybody the gift card. Steve, if I didn't send you the gift card so you could just reorder it and pay for the year, we have 2 options. One, you can either just order it every month like that, or what you can do is build your own bundle. That if you build your own bundle, it's a little bit more confusing because you got to save that gift card and use it every time. But yeah, I'll send you a big, long email, Stephen. Just send me an email so I remember to do it. It's time for Steve to run for office, vote 1. Yeah, not yet. And plus, you would probably have to move here if you want, because I wouldn't run for federal office. I would lose my mind. All right, so the last story is one you guys probably saw, and it's gotten a little bit of traction today because for some reason, I don't know what made me check it. Something made me check the filings for John Sullivan. So because I knew, you know what it was? Hunter Biden, right? So Hunter Biden was charged. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how is he getting a plea bargain and John Sullivan is still out, right? So I did, and for anyone that doesn't know, John Sullivan is an Antifa terrorist that I've covered extensively before January 6th. On January 6th, he also stormed the Capitol with the documentary crew. He's the one that filmed Ashley Babbitt being murdered. He broke a window when he was in there. It's in the video. He was offering a knife to the rioters so they could pick a lock. It's on video. He was on video saying he's going to burn the place down, all that stuff. So I wanted to see what happened because he's been out on his own recognizance, not having to post bail, even though, or maybe he had to post bail after he got indicted and charged with additional crimes for lying to the FBI because he got charged with having a weapon at the Capitol. He's one of the very few people that have actually been charged, and you don't see his name, because they talk about people that are charged with carrying a weapon at the Capitol, and they don't mention him much because he doesn't fit the Trump supporter narrative, right? But anyway, I decided to look up his court case, and to my surprise, there was a filing. It was a motion for dismissal that was filed yesterday with the court, right? So it was filed electronically by his attorney here in DC. Now, what was interesting about it, it was a motion for dismissal, and he's petitioned the court to dismiss his case on the grounds that Donald Trump, who was the subject of the January 6th indictment, was not charged for inciting January 6th. Therefore, he shouldn't be charged. And if they do still want to charge him, then they should drop the charges until Donald Trump is indicted. And I'm not even joking. I did paraphrase there, but I'm not even joking. And I know it's funny because even as I say it, I'm like, hey, this can't be real, but it is real. He says the decision to aggressively prosecute John Sullivan while not prosecuting the far more culpable former President Donald Trump cannot be reconciled and is a violation of rights guaranteed to John Sullivan by the United States Constitution. Wherefore, the foregoing considered John Sullivan praise the honorable court for dismissal of the indictment against him, or in the alternative, to continue the trial date until such time as more information is learned concerning the pending grand jury proceedings relating to Donald Trump. Isn't that the most absurd thing you ever heard? But it caused a bunch of reaction, right? So I tweeted it out. Ford Fisher follows me. He then got the whole complaint and then started tweeting out his own little thread of it with his clips, just like he does. And I have nothing against Ford Fisher. But I've covered John Sullivan extensively, so extensively that for some reason, shortly after January 6th, if you didn't know this, John Sullivan actually came on my show. And I did an hour-long interview with him after he was charged with the federal crimes for January 6th. And he did an hour-long interview with me, which is linked on my Twitter. So you should follow Steve Oatley on Twitter. It's linked on my Twitter. If you've never watched it, it is me at rare form speaking to someone that I despise at every single granular level of his genetic makeup. I fucking hate that guy. Excuse my language. But he's a terrorist. You know what I mean? And I hate everything he stands for. But because he's got a connection to the logistics industry, because I think I wrote 2 or 3 articles on him prior to January 6th, because we already knew he was terrorist. I already knew he was dangerous. I already knew he posed a threat to everybody. And we kept seeing him on all the riot footage. So it's funny. I don't think it was a forward party. I don't know who it is, but I don't think it's a forward party. But yeah, it's funny, and you should watch that. But I just thought, and I remembered too what made me look up John Sullivan. It wasn't Hunter Biden. It was the notice that was issued by a judge this morning that said Donald Trump, for these confidential files that have been leaked or whatever, or for what he's being charged with, that he's going to stand trial in August of this year. And I'm like, this is fucking insane. They got a trial date scheduled for less than 3 months after he was indicted by a grand jury and arrested. It's insane, especially considering you got people like John Sullivan that don't even have trial dates, or they have trial dates in October of this year, which is insane. It's absolutely insane. And that's what caused me to look up John Sullivan. Then I saw this dismissal request, and I was like, are you kidding me? It's insane. But if you guys want to watch this, and I don't usually link videos in my chat, but I'm going to do it right now because I think this is one that you all have to watch. And I was so tempted to send this to the Department of Justice, the U.S. Attorney, because in this video, I ask him if he has remorse for anything he did at the Capitol. And he says, I didn't do anything at all wrong. I have no remorse. See, I paraphrase there too, but you can watch the whole interview. And it's funny. I ask him direct questions like, how do you go from being a rich, Olympic speed skater hopeful to a domestic terrorist? I ask him the hard questions that everybody. So if you haven't already watched that interview, which is in your chat right now, just click it. save it for later and then watch that. And because it's probably one of my best interviews I think I've ever done, because I hate doing interviews. But Punk Man 4149 said, what happened with that case the weird company filed against you? It's still pending. The way the court system here works is they filed a lawsuit against me, 2 lawsuits, for reporting on them with their fake protests and all that bullshit. I then answered back with a motion for sanctions against their attorney and them. We had a mini trial, which they then tabled. Like, I got up on the stand and had to testify to why they lied. And the judge he tabled it until they did another motion. And then what they did is what they always do, is they realized that judge may rule for sanctions for him. So they just haven't filed anything. And I know that if I go and spend the money to file, to have it like dismissed with prejudice or whatever, they're going to just answer it to keep it going. So right now it's just done in the court system. It's done. And it's apparently on them to do something. And I doubt they're hyper focused on me now, because since my reporting, they were indicted federally. One of them was, and they were both indicted by the state of Virginia for a grand jury. I believe indicted. I could be wrong about the indicted, but they were both charged and arrested for, I'm paraphrasing here, on the mentally, or for preying on the mentally challenged and, bank fraud, shit like that, related financial crimes, not connected to my reporting. But none of the charges that they have facing, not the federal charges for tax evasion, not the state level charges, have anything to do with any of our reporting. But so that's what's it's weird, because I was talking about that case with someone else today on the phone. But yeah. We just live in a weird society, man. I'll tell you, I don't care who you are or what you believe. We just live in a weird ass society where nothing makes sense really anymore, and that's the truth, because nothing does make a lot of sense. You know what I also don't understand? I don't know where, like, I saw, Don, your Shopify installment payment, you said, I saw you said that it just charged. I still don't it doesn't even show. Your order shows, but your payment doesn't show, which is fucking weird. It just doesn't show at all. And I'm like waiting on it, because I need to do stuff, and I can't do stuff until all those payments clear. That's why I hate online e-commerce, but it is what it is. It's just how it is. But anyway, guys, if you like this show, please consider supporting the channel. You can either go and buy coffee from coffeecanman.com, sponsor of this show, coffeecanman.com, or what you can do is visit the link tree, which is in the description of the chat, and I'll also throw it in the chat as well. You can do Cash App, Venmo, credit card, whatever you want to do there. It's a great way to support, even if you do $5. Shit, if 20 of you guys do $5, I made $100 for speaking for an hour and 16 minutes. It's worth it for me to do the show and all that, and not have to, because I could get sponsorships. If you guys want me to do sponsorships and do fucking 15-minute ad reads during my show, like every other person that does this, you let me know. But I know you guys don't like that. That's why I haven't been pushing the sponsorships. And Lord knows I can get them, because they contact every single possible streamer like a million times a day. But I wanted to keep independent, but I need your support if you want to keep me independent, because otherwise I'll start selling fucking gold on my show and whatever I got to do, because I also got to be able to pay my bills and to pay to be able to do this. In the next couple of weeks, and I know I've been saying it for a little bit, but the next couple of weeks, we're going to have Capacity Today. It's going to be a daily podcast about the transportation and supply chain industry, anywhere from a half an hour to 45 minutes. It's not going to be live probably, because I'm just going to record it at my leisure, but we're going to start putting it out, because I had a big long conversation with someone today in the logistics industry that I haven't talked to in a long time. Actually, 2 conversations with people that work in logistics for a long time. And I realized that a lot of the issues that I've had in logistics, that the whole reason I started in the media game, they're still very, very prevalent, and they need a voice too. So I could talk about politics and be the voice for you guys, but I also got to talk other stuff. Someone said, Get an air curtain maybe for the doorway would help with preventing dog hair from getting into the coffee. We don't package the coffee here. Coffee's not packaged. You don't have dog hair in your coffee. So it's literally impossible because the coffee's not packaged here. It's packaged at our warehouse. So I can't package it here. This is not a USDA facility. Our website or our warehouse is a USDA facility. Come on, bro. What do you think I am? Some guy that packages coffee in my basement? Leslie, I want to give a shout out to you. Leslie W on Venmo. You did a Venmo to support the show. I appreciate you. And anybody else that wants to do that, I would really appreciate you guys supporting the channel. If you like the show, do $5. Seriously, even $5. It matters. All right. Or don't, but I mean, there's over 200 of you watching right now. So even though it's just $5, it does make a difference if 20 of you do it, So I'd appreciate it if you can. I will see you tomorrow night. I'll keep doing it, but I will see you tomorrow night, and we'll talk about all the other craziness in America. All right? All righty. Bye.